I'm cleaning out my refrigerator and I found about 6 cups of chicken stock, 4 cups of chicken. I went ahead and parboiled some potatoes, pan fried some frozen onions, the little baby onions. I have a cup of frozen peas, and then I went ahead and sauteed off some vegetables, garlic and thyme. I have a couple tablespoons of parsley, half a cup of butter, half a cup of flour, and some whipping cream. I'm going to make some pot pies. Go ahead and bring some water to a simmer. Season it with some salt. Add about 6 cups of diced potatoes and simmer the potatoes in the water until they just get a little bit undercooked. The potatoes are just cooked where they're tender but not falling apart. I'm going to get them out of the pan. In my pan, I'm going to add a tablespoon or so of olive oil. I'm going to add 14 ounces of pearl onions. These are frozen. I defrosted them and drained off any liquid. I just want to cook these for a few minutes just to get a little color on them. These onions have a little color on them. I'm going to get them out of the pan. In the pan, I put another tablespoon of olive oil. I chopped up 1 onion, put a little salt and pepper on it. I'm going to cook this until it's almost gone. I'm really going to cook this down. I'm literally cleaning out my refrigerator, and I've decided I'm going to make a chicken pot pie, and I'm using whatever I have in there to make it work. I have this leek that I used a while back. I took off the outer leaf. I'm going to take this over and wash it. You want to make sure with the leek, sometimes it can be real sandy in there. So I'm going to wash this with water really well and then get this chopped up. I have 6 carrots. They're kind of on the small side. Get these cut up. I always have onions, carrots, celery, garlic, parsley, that kind of stuff, potatoes. Have a couple stalks of celery. I have parsley, so I'm going to chop some of that. You can see it's a couple tablespoons of chopped parsley. I'm mincing 2 cloves of garlic. These onions have really cooked down. I'm going to add the carrots, celery, and leeks, a little salt and pepper. We'll let these saute for a little while. I'm going to add the garlic. I'm going to deglaze the pan with maybe a half a cup of wine. I had some Chardonnay in the refrigerator, and I'm just trying to use up what I have on hand. You could use water, you could use a little chicken stock, but I just want to get all of the flavor up off the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add 2 chicken bouillon cubes while this cooks down. I really want to bump up the chicken flavor. We've successfully deglazed the bottom of the pan. The wine is cooked off. I'm going to add a couple of teaspoons of fresh thyme. You could use like a half to 3/4 teaspoon of dry thyme if you wanted. This looks good. I'm just going to turn the heat off. I have a half a cup of butter and a half a cup of flour. I'm going to whisk it together to make a roux. This has been cooking for about a minute or so. I'm going to add in the 6 cup of chicken stock. Season with a little salt and pepper. Like a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. Keep stirring and whisking until this comes up to temperature and thickens. Go ahead and add about half a cup of heavy cream. Test it for seasoning. Wow, that's pretty good. I'm going to add all of this potatoes and the pearl onions, the vegetables, the peas that I cooked. Add about 4 cups of cooked chicken. It's about the amount of meat that you get off of one whole chicken. And that's going to be our filling. In my bowl, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon baking powder. I'm going to add 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening and 1/2 cup of cold butter. And I've cut it up into little cubes the best I can. I have my whisk attachment that I'm going to cut the shortening and the butter into the flour with. You could do it with a pastry knife or a fork, but I have found that this works pretty good. It doesn't take very long, and the pieces of shortening are getting smaller, the size of like a pea. That's what they always say anyway. Size of a pea. You can see that the shortening and butter have broken up considerably. Now I'm going to start adding slowly between maybe like 1/2 cup and 2/3 cup of water. And I'm going to use my fork to start mixing this together. I'm also going to add about 1 teaspoon of vinegar. My grandma always added that. She said that it helped make the pie crust tender. You just want to add as much water that you need to get it formed in a mass that you can press into a dough ball. A little bit more. You can see I didn't use quite all the water. I'm going to turn this dough out onto my surface. Wrap the dough in saran wrap and form it into a round disc shape. And go ahead and stow it away in the refrigerator. Let it firm up. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and roll out this pastry dough. It's been in the refrigerator overnight. It's gonna be a little hard to at first, but just work on it. I rolled the dough out and I'm just cutting around my bowls. And I'm letting allowing a 1/2 inch or so. It's a beautiful dough. You can see the bits of butter throughout it. I filled my bowls with the chicken pot pie filling. I'm just going around the outer edge of the crust and pressing it kind of down over the edge of the bowl. Going to give it a egg wash to the top. And then just cut some slits in the top so that the steam can escape. Sprinkle the top with some salt and pepper. And then we're going to bake them in a 375 preheated oven for 45 minutes to an hour. We'll just keep an eye on them. Now this recipe is going to make 6 bowls for our lunch today, but it also filled this 13 by 9 pan. So I can, I have a neighbor, my mom's neighbor actually. I've known them for 50 years, 52 years. And yeah, they're having some problems. So I'm going to take them over dinner. And I have rolled out the rest of my pie crust, and I'm going to cover this with the dough. I'm going to do the same thing with putting a little egg wash on the top. You can see, so this recipe is going to make you lunch and a dinner out of one chicken. It's a pretty good deal. Into a 375-degree oven, 45 minutes to an hour. These are the 6 mini pot pies that I made for lunch today. I'm going to let them cool for a few minutes before I serve them. And here is the pot pie that I'm going to take to my mom's neighbor. You can see how wonderful this crust is. Look at that. When we were kids on Sunday night, when we watched Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, and Disney, we used to have pot pies, but they weren't like this. Really yummy. That is so good. Oh, the crust is excellent. There's nothing better than a really good pie crust, you know? That's delicious.